good news, you're a challenge, women like you, they're interested in you, you're even the spice of romance, you know how to deal with jealousy and the occasional fight when it comes up, so you're doing everything well. That's the good news, you're really doing good. So what can sometimes be the bad news? Well, you're doing so good that this girl really, 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 really likes you. And unlike guys who are happy just relaxing and we don't even care what happens, we could sit there forever, girls sometimes have plans and ideas about where this relationship is going to go. So what kind of goes off in the female mind when you really, really like a guy you've been dating for a while? Why does everything always have to be going somewhere?
I mean, once I really like someone, I feel like I start to see a future form. Like I start to envision in my little crystal ball that we could have a house and then we can get married and then there'll be children. Like I totally build things up and put them on a pedestal. And I try not to put it all out there to scare them away, but we totally do we think in our head like, oh, this could go here, this could go there. I don't know, it's exciting to us. But I'm sure that could be scary for a guy.
Yeah, I think we just don't want to feel like we're wasting our time. So it's not like we're going to go out on like a first date and be like, oh my God, we should get married.
Let's move in.
But it's nice to think about a possible future with someone. And then if it doesn't work out, I mean, it's still fine.
Right, it happens. It doesn't work out. But it's like, it's nice to think that it can go somewhere because otherwise we just feel like we're killing time with the wrong person.
That's how I look at it. Like, I don't want to just feel like I'm giving my all to someone and there's not even like a chance of it going somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So how can a guy handle this wrong? Like you said, sometimes this could scare them. What could a guy say that's totally wrong in a situation like that when you bring stuff up? It doesn't mean he has to commit to these things now, but
right.
What's the wrong thing to say?
I don't know that it's wrong, but if he said, well, I don't want any of those things, it wouldn't be wrong. It would be honest and good to know, but it's like, you got to get that out of the way. Because if I'm saying, okay, I'd love to have a house and a marriage and a kid, and then you're like, I never want kids. That's something that needs to come out in like an earlier part of the relationship if you're that serious.
Right.
It doesn't need to be like first month or anything like that. But like you'll figure out a good timing to figure these things out if that's going to be like a deal breaker for her.
But people don't always know what they want. Like I know I thought at a certain point, like I don't want any of those things, and things change. So I think it'd be weird as a guy to just scare a girl off that you like by saying that. I think there's got to be another way to say stuff like that. Like, that might not be what I'm thinking right now.
Yeah.
I'm an open person. I'm always changing every day. That's something I might think about in the future. And then you have to make your own decision. You have to be like, well, should I stay with this guy or not? I don't want to like lead you on to something that I'm not, but I'm just being open about it.
I think that would be fair. Just saying, I don't really think about these things right now, but it's something that I could consider in the future. Or you want to find out if it's really serious. You've already been together, let's say 3 years. You want to find out her agenda as far as if she has like time stamps on these things. I want to be in a house by this age. I want to be married at this age. You need to figure out if it's getting to the deal breaking time, because she might feel like, oh, maybe I'm waiting forever. You have to kind of talk about that if it's that serious, I think.
Is there anything a guy can do where it's like, you might have your idea, like you said, these timelines in your mind where he might not be on the same timeline, you're on the same page, and kind of push things out a little bit? Are girls comfortable with that? Or is it very strict?
I want to say that varies. I don't think it has to happen, but that varies, I think, in your relationship. The things that she thinks are serious. Maybe it's like a career thing. Maybe it's moving someplace. I think it varies with how you deal with it and how serious you guys are at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I've had someone bring it up to me, and I just used to say, like, I just live my life, like, day by day, because I never know what's going on in my career and where I'm going to be living and you can kind of, like, deflect it a lot of times that way, because sometimes it's the guy that's more eager than the girl, and then you have to, like, they're the ones that have to kind of, like, bring it up to know what page that they're on. I mean, it's so situational.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's talk about that. So everything's going good. Obviously, things are always moving forward. What about things like, what's the next step? Is it moving in together? Is that like, you really like this person, you're together all the time? Like, is that a logical next step? What should a guy know about that?
If you're together all the time and you think that like this could be long term, I do personally feel that people should live together before they get married.
I agree with that.
But if you're moving in together, you have to kind of think that is where it's going.
And you should want to, not just because you both are sick of paying rent individually. Like you really need to want to live with this person. I agree. I 100% think you should live with the person before you get married, just because you start to notice like all like the little things. But you need to both want to, not just because you feel like it's the next step.
Is there anything guys do once you start living with them that you're like, oh my god, this is ridiculous? Like,
Oh, leaving dishes in the sink, dirty socks on like the dining room table, and you're like, what?
does that affect attraction? I mean, if you really like this guy, does this kind of lower your interest a little bit?
Like a slow.
I know. You just kind of have to like bring it up. Like you can't be like, don't do this and don't do that. It's a compromise.
And
You
then
know,
it's also like
hey,
a respect factor. Like if he knows that certain things annoy me, and if I know certain things annoy him, you have to both compromise and make an effort to change them.
yeah, like maybe we'll do dishes every other day and put your dirty socks in the laundry.
But you find that like living together really took your relationship to the next level, like, you know.
Oh,
or if
I
nothing
think
changed?
I think it definitely does take it to the next level. It's like you're really on the road to something here, like something serious when you're living together. When you're living together, you can tell that like you're both sort of thinking long term, like serious commitment. You're investing in something together.
Yeah, I think it gives you that extra motivation to work stuff out too. I think like even when you look at marriage, it's like it's not just about marriage. It's like you just can't walk away. You're gonna work a little bit harder to try to save something. Where you're just dating, like, oh well, he did this, I'm out of here. You know what I mean? I think living together is kind of the same thing. It's like we'll go that extra mile to let's try to work this out.
More
We live together,
compromise.
this is- Yeah, stuff like that.
I agree.
So getting engaged, stuff like that. I don't know if you guys have any experience with that, but since you guys are kind of go-getter type girls, would you be at the point in your life where you would ask the guy, or is a guy should always ask you?
I wouldn't ask the guy just
Never.
because I mean, I couldn't say never, but I think that moment's like so special and that you should keep it a little traditional.
Yeah, I would err on the side of traditional. I'm not saying I would never, be the one to make that move. Like if I found a really unique, sweet opportunity, maybe I might. But I would probably prefer the traditional way.
Me too.
All right, so you talked about before, like having to talk about stuff like kids, that's important. Should a guy kind of give some thought to that, what he wants in his life too? You get into these relationships and not knowing, I mean, no one says you have to go through with all this stuff, but should a guy have an idea of what he wants out of his life? Is that
Of
attractive?
course.
What his goals
I
are?
want to say when they're getting closer to their 30s, they should kind of have a general idea. Like, I hate kids, I love kids,
Yeah.
I'm for marriage, I don't ever want to get married. Like they should kind of know by then, so that way you don't set a girl up for failure. If she really wants to get married and you're like, I just don't want it, it's just papers to me. Don't set her up to have to be like, well, then this isn't going to work 3 years into a relationship,
Right.
So at some point that has to kind of come out.
All right, so if you are that type of guy who, maybe you for whatever reason, let's not say it's right or wrong, that you're not going to be with one woman, you're not going to commit to one woman. Like I know a lot of guys think like, oh, I'm always going to be a player and all that stuff. And what I found interesting is a lot of things that trip these type of guys up is it's not about sex, it's about affection. They find that affection, like you talked about,
Right.
the cuddling, the snuggy bear, I used my nails on him in the morning. The stuff that all these guys get hooked on, and it's really... They will commit to you because they don't want to lose that to another guy. They feel loved and stuff like that. So I think no matter who you are, you really want that in your life. Like, why do rock stars get married? You could say, oh, they could get any girl they want, but a lot of these guys are still getting married. You go, why does Brad Pitt get married? Oh, that's crazy. But, he wants that affection. He wants that love in his life. So what do you think about stuff like that?
I feel like each girl has like their little things that they do to kind of get a guy in that relationship type mindset. Like maybe you're a guy that gets lots of girls. Okay, so girls are girls. But then if you're a girl that does these little unique things, and it's like he misses that when it's not there, and then so he feels like he kind of has to have that. So it's not like unheard of,
So you don't worry, like, you know, even any guy that you would meet, you're like, oh, well, this guy can get a lot of women, but I'm not worried.
But
because I
if
could
he's
probably
with
get a-
me, if he chose me, you know, if we're having a
Right.
relationship, I feel like that's for a reason. There's something I do that he would miss if it wasn't there. So it makes me unique. So I wouldn't be too self-conscious about it.
Now, we talked a lot about how girls you have different forms of affection in your life. It's not just your guy. There's some affection there, there's some love there. You have your friends, you guys were kind of like touching each other before. Not in a sexual way, I'm just saying, like, girls are more affectionate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sleep in
like,
the same
hug
bed and
and-
stuff.
yeah.
And we talked about stuff like that. It's like, I think for a guy, like, the advice we give is like, you have to, because when we're with our guy friends, we're not affectionate, obviously. Sometimes some guys don't even talk. So you have no affection there. So then your girlfriend becomes the source of all that affection. Now, you're the only one I get this stuff from. So, like, we tell guys to try to vary their lives up, you know.
Right.
Maybe volunteer, spend time with family, hang out with your
Mhm.
friends, like, stuff like that.
You need a balance. I mean, because I know that I love to spend time with my family. Krista loves to spend time with her family. We're friends. We have like our girl nights. And if guys are just like smothering us, that's a lot of pressure.
It is. You just want to have your own life, like what we were saying. Like it makes you more interesting. It gives you guys something to talk about. Not if you're so involved in each other's lives, it could get boring.
Right. Yeah, so I think there's like, I don't know, like being a tough guy, it almost puts you at a disadvantage with women because